Welcome to The Hunt, junglers, where we look at great LCS games to get better in our own play. This time, we check out matches from the first half of the 2015 Summer Split to learn how to use jungle camp timers to our advantage. First off, let's take a look at how jungle camp timers work. At any point during the game, you can hit Tab to bring up the timer and scoreboards. The timers are at the top of the screen. From left to right, the timers are blue side Blue Sentinel, blue side Red Brambleback, Baron, Dragon, red side Brambleback, red side Blue Sentinel. Now don't write that down. They're color-coded, so it's super easy to figure out on the fly. If there's an icon in the box, it means that the camp is alive. A timer there means that it's dead and you know when it's going to respawn. A hyphen there means it's dead and you have no clue when it's going to respawn. Well, it may not be true that you have no clue, but this is the important thing to remember about these timers. They only track information you officially know. So if you didn't see the camp die, you won't know that it's dead. And when you wander into a camp that was already killed when you weren't looking, you won't get the timer. You just get hyphens to remind you that it was dead when you last checked. So if you didn't actually see a camp get killed, but you saw when the enemy mid laner returned to lane with the buff or heard the dragon death sound, you're going to have to keep track of the respawn timer in your head. Alright, all the boring stuff's out of the way. Let's talk about why you care about those jungle camp timers. One of the most important things a jungler can do is make sure his or her team gets the jungle camp buffs. Blue buff, red buff, Baron buff, dragon buff. Sounds like an awesome Dr. Seuss book, but it's also how you win the game. And since you're the one running around the jungle, keeping an eye on the camps, it makes sense for you to be the one on your team that tracks the timers and makes sure your allies know about important ones coming up. And the most important timer to keep track of is Dragon. It's a frequently fought over objective that you simply can't ignore for too long, because every time the enemy team kills it, they get a permanent buff that makes them stronger than you. It's scary stuff. In H2K's Week 3 match against SK, H2K gave up 4 dragons in a row, so they knew that they had to fight SK every single time they went for the 5th. So several times in a row, before it even respawned, H2K were waiting at the pit, ready to fight them off dragon twice before winning the game. Another huge moment happened in H2K's match the next day. Even though they were beating the Unicorns of Love, the Unicorns always kept wards in the Dragon Pit to make sure that they saw it die and would get the timer for it. Which was crucial because when H2K went back to get it the next time it respawned, knowing that timer let the Unicorns of Love sneak in and steal it without even having to fight them. But the best example of Dragon Mastery this split, I think, was when Roccat upset Origen in Week 3. Origen didn't ward the Dragon Pit, which let Roccat steal it once. But because Origen didn't have the timer on when it would respawn and failed to keep track of it mentally, Roccat was able to steal the next 2 dragons in a row as soon as they spawned without Origen even noticing. It was a snowballing series of outplays that gave underdog Roccat the power they needed to beat the #1 team in EU. In a hugely important game in Week 4 of the NALCS, Team Liquid and Team Solomid showed how much they relied on knowing when Dragon would respawn. Listen to the announcers in this next clip and just notice how much the teams based their warding, poke, and even item buying strategies on the upcoming Dragon spawn, all because their junglers kept track of the respawn timer. Take it away, Kobe and Freak.
Either way, Scuttler is controlled right on time for the Dragon. TSM, though, able to slink into the jungle and clear some of these wards away, so both teams aware that this Dragon in 30 seconds is the objective they want control over. Deep wards, a bit for both sides.
And I really actually like what Quas is doing here. Picked up the blasting wand instead of trying to wait around for an initially large rod or some other item in preparation for this Dragon. 10 seconds left on it. They've got teleport. He's been able to spend his cash. TSM not quite able to make the press in to take down the turret.
Now, of course, there's more to the jungle than just Dragon. One of the most powerful things you can do with jungle camp timers is use them to steal buff camps from the enemy jungle. It's a dirty, hilarious tactic called counter jungling. Even stealing small camps is worth it. The loss of XP, gold, and smite buffs to the enemy team really adds up. But you're going to need vision to get those timers and make sure you show up at the right time. So make frequent trips into the enemy jungle to leave wards near buff camps, like Gambit Gaming's Gosu Pepper did in Week 3 against Copenhagen Wolves. In Fnatic's win over Giants Gaming in Week 3, they used wards in the enemy jungle to completely starve out the Giants. They just smothered them. They kept track of every jungle camp's respawn timer and repeatedly stole all of their buffs. All of them! It was almost painful to watch. Krepo gave a great analysis of the advantages that those tactics gave them. While you're listening to him in this next clip, try to count all of the wards the Fnatic have invested in the Giants jungle.
Giants, they want to find an opening, but look at the vision, and this is what Fnatic does when they get ahead in that mid game. Systematically moving up those lines of vision. We see wards at the wolves. We see wards usually around the wraiths to control. Those are the things you want to control. If you're out of objectives, but you don't quite yet want to push tier 2 towers, you steal away the possibility of the enemy smiting his own wolves. So you rob him of a potential to get free vision. Then you smite away the raptors too, and you deny them the possibility to clear the wards in your jungle. Then you take their buffs.
Don't give them anything in return.
All right, junglers, I think that brings us to the end of our hunt, at least for this time. Thanks for joining us, and I hope you learned something new from watching the pros that helps you keep track of and take advantage of jungle camp timers. If you have any other ideas or suggestions, toss them in the comments to help out your fellow junglers. We're all in this together. Until next time, happy hunting.